We are talking about some new features and digging into a little deeper into a few things. The first thing I would love for you to do is join us on this Padlet and fill out these 2 polls. So the first question is, what is your experience using Padlet? And the next question is, what age students do you usually teach? Or sometimes you have different kinds of audience who are, we saw in the last group, some people spoke about working with patients or with adults or higher ed students. So let us know who you work with. And I will keep repeating today's resources in here as people get joined up. And you can come here and select whichever one matches to you. And I will show the results coming through here. All right, one more time with those resources. So as usual, I will present from this Padlet, and you can check out all these resources as we go through them, and you can always come back to these later. We also always record these sessions, so we'll share out that recording afterwards as usual, so you can reference it later. Padlets can be played as slideshows, which I know some of you are already aware of. You can click on the play button here, and then each one of these posts will turn into a slide, and we can kind of know the results. Things will continue to update dynamically here. And it's always interesting to see where everyone is at in terms of their experience and what kinds of students you teach. So it looks like we have a little bit more intermediate and advanced users at this session. So welcome back if you've been here before. And across all age groups, but a little bit more on the upper end. So I will share some resources that are appropriate for older students as well as younger students. All right, one more time with these resources in the chat here. All right, let me introduce myself and then tell you all about the agenda, and then we'll try some more things on some of these Padlet boards. So I'm going to come here and start the slideshow over here. My name is Zareen Levien. It's nice to see you again if you're returning, and nice to meet you if you're new to these sessions. I'm the Education Marketing Manager here at Padlet. I've been here for almost 2 years. Before that, I spent a long time in San Francisco Unified School District. That's where these lovely students are from. I was a teacher at the elementary and high school level, and then also a digital learning coach and the director of digital learning. So I got to be in a lot of different classrooms and see a lot of different tools being used, and continued to see how it engaged students differently. And we got to, as teachers would see all different sides of students when we were giving them a lot of multimedia options and different ways to show their sparks and how they shine. And that's what I love about Padlet. So hoping to show you a few more examples today that could draw out some of those great things from our students. And we also have Julia Carnes with us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia. I'm the product marketing manager here at Padlet. I've been with the company for about 5 years, so I know a lot of the ins and outs. But when it comes to new things, Zareen and I are on the same foot, and she's usually got an edge up on me because she's always preparing for these sessions. So I'm here to answer questions that you might have in the chat and the Q&A. And if something comes up that stumps me, I'll definitely ask Zareen to handle that live. So yeah, I'll look forward to answering your questions, and I'll throw it back over to you, Zareen.
Great, thank you. I'll keep posting these resources. I know that some people are just joining, and that's the polls are at the top of this page as well. So right up here if you'd like to participate. Great, so that's us. Keep letting us know how you're doing in the Q&A and the chat, as Julia mentioned. And here's what we'll do today. I'm going to kind of take us through a few different parts of Padlet and dig into one feature in each of those areas. So Padlet Boards, Padlet Sandbox, and our newest tool, Padlet TA. I'll kind of dig into one feature and a few new things about each of those as we go through. Before we do that, I'd love to take us over to a sandbox and do a map in a different way. So I'll show you what, it looks like some people are already over here. So this is a map, and I had a whole world map on the last session. It got a little crowded. So here I have us split up by continent. So if you click on the left-hand side, you can find your continent, and you can add an emoji sticker based on where you're from or where you're calling in from now. And the way you can access that is over here with these emoji stickers. And I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to go to my settings, and I'm going to show you can restrict your tools. So this might be helpful if you want to make sure that everyone is kind of following along with the tools that you want. So I'm going to turn off all the tools for a minute. Sorry if you were in the middle of something. And I'm going to turn on the stickers. And so now you just have this one option here, and you can put an emoji sticker where you're from, and you can also kind of express how you're feeling with that. And you can click down on the left-hand side. Looks like we have quite a few folks from Europe and from North America. but we have some representation in some other continents as well. I know it's pretty, it's different times in different places, so some of these people might still be asleep or waking up. And then I also have a world map at the bottom. You're welcome to join on here. I was also thinking of our friends in New Zealand, who sadly were not represented on the other continents. So if you want to be on the world map, you can do that too. So Sandbox, you can do maps on boards or Sandbox. We had an interesting question in the last session about what's the difference between boards and Sandbox. And what I would say, I'll show you a few more examples, but what I would say about that is boards is much more structured. So if we go back to this one, there's post boxes. You can kind of control the information, control the organization a little bit more. And Sandboxes are much more open-ended. People can come over here and add their different things on here and move things around. And it's much more open in terms of kind of being creative and being together on here and putting things in different places. But I'll show you a few more examples about that as well. And you can also try both. Sometimes I do that, like with this map example, I've often done maps on Padlet boards, and I thought, oh, it'd be fun to try it on a Sandbox this time. And it has a little bit of a different feel to it. Okay, I am going to put these, I know people are still joining, so I'm going to put our main resources back in the chat one more time here. Ooh, I love the different emojis and even some flags in there in the session. Okay, so let me take us over talking a little bit more about boards. And I'm just going to back up actually for 1 second. I know we do have some folks who are newer to Padlet here. So if you come to padlet.com, anyone can sign up for a free account and you can get 3 Padlets for free. And right now we actually have a special promotion where you can make as many Sandboxes as you want, as you kind of get to know it a little bit better. So no restriction on the Sandboxes until the end of this year through end of December. So here you can click, so you can come and make a free account and then very simply make a Padlet board or Sandbox. If I wanted to do something with my students today, I could ask a simple question. How are you feeling today? I could choose a different format if I wanted to, or I could just simply make a Padlet like this. I could share this link with my students. So the hope is that you can do a lot of deep things in Padlet, but you can also do some quick, simple things that still add a lot of energy and engagement to your classroom, whether it's a quick opener or maybe there's an exit ticket at the end of your class where you want to do something. There are a lot more examples on this page too. So I'm on the Make page. There's many more examples to explore here, and I'll share those in our resources at the end as well. That just help you get to know some of the things that are possible. Okay, so next I'm going to take us into a Padlet board to illustrate one of my favorite features, which is called custom post fields. So if you're on a Padlet board, like the one I just made very quickly there, or this one, when you or participants click on this post box, you have kind of a standard setup here, subject, a place to write some information, and you have all of these different attachment types, which are really lovely. Camera, video, audio, images. This is all built into your board and you can access all of them. However, sometimes you might want to customize that. And so that's what I've done on this board. So I'm going to take us over to this board. And yes, this session is going to be recorded and shared out later, so you can check it out or share it with others after the fact. So on this board, I have another couple of polls here, and imagine we're talking about movies here. So if you want to come here and let me know how often you watch movies, you can vote on here where you usually watch movies, which of these Pixar movies are the favorites. And so you can do things like this, like we did in the first question as well. I'm also going to invite you to add your own post with the plus button here. So come over here and tell me about your favorite movie. You'll also see that I've added some custom questions here. This is another way that you can collect information. So as you're filling this out, I might put my favorite movie in here. I'm going to search for an image of maybe this movie poster and add that. And then there's 2 required questions here, and I'll show you how I made this in a minute. I have a multiple choice question about what kind of movie it is, and then I have an open text question about your favorite character in that movie. Great, yes, so you can add comments here, and then I also invite you to click on the plus button and add your favorite movie. And while you're doing that, I'll show you how I customize that box and some of the cool things you can do with customizing post fields. So when I click on the plus box. And this is when you're making your own Padlet, you'll have access to change these settings. So I can click on the button for fields right here. This allows me to change all the fields that are in this box. So here I can change the attachments. So that's often something I want to do, just allow some of these attachments. Another thing I can do that I already added down here is some custom fields. And one of the lesser known custom fields is this idea of single select. So that's how I added my own kind of multiple choice question within a post box on Padlet. So I put the idea genre here, and then I added some choices. So you can do that yourself. You can make your own multiple choice question that everyone who responds with a post will answer. And then I also set that to required to make sure everyone answers that question for me. And the other custom field I put was just an open-ended text field, but I also made that required. So it's a nice way that you can give a little bit more guidance to your students in terms of like, if you have something you want them to answer, you can put it in these custom fields. And then you can also control the default text here in your subject. So I said your favorite movie to remind people what to write there. And I left all the attachments, but you could change those as well. Great, I see some fun movies coming up here. Another thing I left on here was comments. So I see some people commenting. And then the other thing you can that I turned on is emoji reactions. I like the controversy on favorite characters as well. So feel free to comment or emoji react or make your own post on these favorite movies. So that's custom post fields, really powerful to do on any of your boards. And again, if you're starting out, you don't have to customize all of these things, but it's nice to know they're there for when you want to do that, when that might be more helpful for your assignment. Okay, and we always get this question, so I'll answer this now too. Participants don't need to have an account to participate on my Padlet. So I need an account whenever I'm making Padlets, but then I can decide what my permissions are, and that's under the sharing arrow. So I can decide if I want visitors to log in, I can make them log in, but if I want to share it with students or participants without an account, I can leave that off. And I can give people permission and just share the link. And so that's what I'm doing right now. So if you're not logged in, you'll still be able to participate right now. But I could set that differently if I wanted to. And in our school accounts, we can also force teachers and students to sign in with their school account. So it can be restricted just to your school if that's something interesting to you. Okay, so that's a quick drill into boards. And now let's do something on a sandbox. So we were on a sandbox earlier on the maps. Next, I want to show you a few options for getting input from students on a sandbox. So one thing you could do is similar to that map example. I could come over to a sandbox and have everyone on the same sandbox. And that would not require students to log in. So you can join this sandbox that I just put in the chat. And for this one, I'm going to invite you to create your own monster like I did in this example. So if you want to come to the next page here, there's a lot of space to make monsters. You can click on the AI image tool. And you can see I've restricted the tools here to just that one. And you can put in a prompt. So let's see, I'm going to say a purple, fuzzy, friendly monster with fangs. You can decide what your monster should look like. There's always a fun mix when we do this with folks. It'll take about 30 seconds to generate. We also have filters on all of our tools to make sure the content is appropriate in the images that come up. So I'm going to make a little monster. You can decide if you want to make it more animal-like, like this example, or more monster-like, and you can resize it once you make it and move it around. You'll notice that you can't change other people's. You might by accident land on top of somebody's, but you won't be able to delete each other's. And I think that's really important for students. So this is one way you could have everyone participate together on one slide or one card here. And that's a really fun way to have everyone see each other's responses here. Sometimes you might want to have students have their own area. And one way to do that is just to create a number of cards down below. So on the left-hand side here, I have another example. I thought this could be a fun way if you're exploring different animal habitats and characteristics. You could have an imaginary one as an opening activity. So I made some empty templates here, and feel free to play around on these if you want to. And the way I did this was I made one empty template, and then I clicked on the 3 dots and I clicked on duplicate a bunch of times. So you can see down here on the left-hand side, I have about 20 or more blank templates so that each student in my class could complete one of these. And so that's one way that you can have students do an individual thing within a sandbox, and you don't need to have them log in for that. And that is a quick way to do things. It's easy to have everything in one place. Another way you might want to do something, you might want to have a private assignment that just your student has their own copy of a sandbox. And so I'll show you how to do that next. Oh, I'm loving all these monsters. I just have to appreciate all these for a moment. Lovely. Thanks for playing along here. So another way you might want to do things is have your own copy of something. So I'll show you what that would look like. So if I have an individual template here, and this time I just have the example card and I have one slide for the student to fill out. And I want to give every student a copy of this. So there's a really nice tool called Auto Remake under the sharing arrow here. So I go to the sharing arrow and then I go to the Auto Remake link. And here I can just share this one link, and I'll put this in the chat if you want to see what this feels like. And when you go to that link, it will have you log in because now you're making your own copy. So this is something, if you want to have students log in and have their own individual copy, you can give them that Auto Remake link. And then they'll make their own copy of this. The teacher and the student will have access, but the whole class will not see this assignment. And then under my Auto Remake link here, I will get to see all of the list of copies. So here down below, I'm seeing all of the copies that students have made, and I can click into any of these to look at them more. So that's a really nice tool, and it's very simple with that one single link. You don't need a special link for every student. That does, again, require them to log in. And just to repeat this, on this one, where I have all the cards on my Padlet, students don't have to log in. So that's kind of the difference. If you want it more private and you want them to have their own copy, they have to log in. If you want to do it all together, you can just make your own cards here and students can each take one of those. Okay, I see some appreciation for Auto Remake links. It's really one of my favorite features, so I'm glad that some of you have used that already as well. Okay, I want to jump ahead next into Padlet TA. So Padlet TA is our newest tool. And I'm going to come back over here. So we've talked about these Padlet boards. That's the one with the post boxes. It's very organized. The Sandboxes, which is the one with the whiteboard, more open-ended, multiple cards down the side. And now I'm going to talk about this tool up here. You'll see this link if you are a teacher. If your role as a teacher, you'll see that link. Otherwise, you can actually go directly to ta.padlet.com. And it's a tool that is free to access. You can log in with your same Padlet ID if you want to save your history, which can be really useful. And there are a number of really fun tools here. We have some interactive activities where you can actually make your own games. You can make your own matching games or multiple choice or sorting games. You can make printable activities such as reading passages, worksheets, coloring sheets even. And you can make some other things, lesson plans, presentations. And this can be for all different age levels. So let me show you some of these. Flashcards is our newest one. So this is really fun. You can come to any of these tools and then you're going to fill this out to make, to prompt it to create something. So I might say vocabulary about changes in face. And then it's going to make some flashcards for me. It'll take about 30 seconds, and then I'll be able to share that link with students. So I'm going to let that run. I'll show you one that I've already made, but now you kind of see the process for how you would make it. So I could do something like, here's one that I made about world capitals. And so I'm going to share this link with you all if you want to take a look at it. So good question. from Padlet. Padlet TA is linked just for teachers, but it is accessible to anyone if you go directly to ta.padlet.com. So you can share that link and anyone can access it from there. It is meant for teachers. It has educational materials that you can build on here. So if you want to check out this link, this is an example of some flashcards. See how many of these you can get right with world capitals. You can put any content in here. So you could put your own vocabulary list, or you could just give it a topic and it will make these cards for you. So the new thing that I wanted to share about Padlet TA is we've just launched on some of our tools the ability to continue to edit this. This is a request that we've gotten a lot as people are generating things like matching games or flashcards. They might want to make some small edits to those things. So here's an example of one that I've made that's a multiple choice quiz all about Mesopotamia. So I chose that because my son is in 7th grade and he's studying Mesopotamia right now. So I asked for a quiz about Mesopotamia and the important things that happened there. So if I go to this button, Open Editor, now this looks a little different than the prompt used to if you've used TA before, and it looks a little bit more like other AI tools, something like ChatGPT or Gemini, if you've used those, where you can ask it more questions to do more things. So at first, I asked it here, I said, put all of this in simpler language. It was a little bit complex the first time I outputted it. And it had a lot of questions and I wanted a shorter thing. So then I said, change it to 5 questions. So I can keep giving instructions after I generate something. So I can say, add another question. And then it's going to make that change to this over here on the right-hand side. And then with all of these activities, so now it's just thinking and it's going to add that in just a minute. And then with all of these activities, I can either give student a play link to play around with it online, or I can export it in some different ways. So I can export it over to Google or to a PDF to print out. And these are other ways that I might edit it. If I really want to kind of write the text myself, I might update this. I may export this to one of these other formats. So when I click on Student Play Link, I have a special link that I can give to students or a QR code that they can scan. And I'll put that link into the chat here. So if you want to try playing this game, testing your knowledge of Mesopotamia, you can do that. And you'll see as you play with this that once you select all your choices, you can get some feedback. It'll tell you what you got right and wrong. So it's a nice way to give extra practice to students on whatever you're studying. Another cool thing about Padlet TA is when you're making any of these things, when I come in here, I can upload a file. This is one of my favorite things. So if I have a lesson plan already, I can pick that file. And I've uploaded a few already here. So if I have my math lesson or my social studies lesson or word list, I can give that as context, and then it'll make activities based on the teaching that I'm already doing. So it's really a nice time saver. Using the materials I already have, I can make more practice activities for my students in any of these categories, whether it's flashcards or games or multiple choice quizzes, fill in the blank. There's a bunch of different options there. And you can make as many of these as you want. So I really encourage you to try some out. Take a look around, see which one stands out to you, and then give it a try. So I just have a question in here. Could you make the multiple choice option into a game for competition between students? Or just tell them the score they got. Yeah, that's a great idea. It's not something that's built in yet, the ability for multiple students to go together on any of these links. But I've definitely had students play with these and sit next to each other and kind of compare scores, or have multiple students at one computer kind of working together. So there's ways you can do that right now, but we will hopefully be adding some of those options to play in different modes in the future. Great. Okay, and I see some other requests here. Thanks for putting in your feedback as well. We really appreciate any suggestions you have for making this better, especially because it is a very new tool. And I want to show you, a lot of times people want to see more examples, especially of TA, to see all the different kinds of things that are possible. So this is a library of examples. We're going to be expanding this even further soon. but you can come to this page and just see a lot of different things that are possible. And I know that a number of you teach either adults or higher education students. So once you get here, you can filter in the upper right by coming to the search box and then clicking on this filter button to see things that are most appropriate to your age level or subject area. So I'm going to click on this filter button, and then I could choose a particular subject, like I just want to see science examples. Or I could choose a particular age group, like maybe I just want to see higher ed students or adults, and I can click on that and see those examples that are most relevant to that age group. So go ahead and click around there, and you can kind of see some of the things that are possible. If you like any of these examples, you can share the play link with your students as well, and you can play them, or you can make some of your own copies or your own prompts to create things. Okay. As we're talking about making copies of things or reusing things, I do want to point out with any of these examples that I've been sharing, let me go back to some of these earlier ones, like for example, this monster page or this map page. If you like this and want to share this with your students, all of our Padlets have this remake button at the top here. So I could click on this. I could decide if I want all the objects, or if I want kind of a fresh copy that hasn't been kind of added to, I could do the admin only objects, and then I could remake that. And so I encourage you to take any of the examples that I'm sharing and make your own copy of it. And then it'll land in your account, and you can edit this, change it however you want, and then share it out with your students. All right, I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions to highlight, Julia, from the chat or the Q&A that you think would be helpful.
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to put in the chat again just that list of TA examples. We don't have it like publicly listed anywhere, but you can bookmark it and save it into your own Padlet account. And Zareen, one more time, could you go to that and just show everyone how to use the filters again? I think that'd be helpful so people can see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is a kind of hidden feature on our boards that is lesser known. So when you have a big board, especially, you can use the search box to find things, and you can also use this little filter button. So it's after you click on the search button, you get this little icon here in the upper right. And here, if there are fields, like we've done on this board, you have all of these different filtering options. So I could find only the social studies examples, or I could find only the high school examples. And you can kind of view this board in different ways. And then you can always click on reset to view them all again.
And then one other thing I'd love to point out, if you could show, I'm having a conversation with someone in the Q&A about the possibility of using Padlet for an advent calendar. And there are many applications of this feature, but I was hoping you could show everyone how to schedule posts in a way that you could create, any sort of calendar, whether it's for Advent or something where you'd like to release posts, every day for a week or for a month.
Ooh, you're really kind of testing my knowledge here. So are you thinking, Julia, this would be on a board or a sandbox?
Yeah, on a board. And, when you go to add a post, you can schedule it at a date and a time, any time up to a year in the future. So yeah, here's the process for people curious.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I created a new board here. I can format it in different ways. So I'm going to go to the settings here, and I have a few different layouts that I could use. So I might want to do that in rows or columns if I'm thinking of more of a calendar type look. And then if I wanted to schedule a post, if I come to the plus button here, there's this little clock here. This is also a lesser known feature. And so I could time this to release at different times. So I could set up all my posts, but have them jump out onto the board and get posted at any time in the future that I want to schedule it for. That's such a cool idea. I'm excited to see what that looks like with that advent calendar. Great. All right, great questions, everyone. So taking into account some of the new things that we saw today and the great questions you've asked, if you could come to this board, I would love to just hear what's standing out to you. What would you like to try next, either on Padlet or Padlet TA? So if you want to come to the plus button here and let me know what sounded interesting to you. I'm really curious to see the advent calendar and see how that shapes up. So I'll say that. You could do more than one post here too. I'm also excited about some of the TA activities. So I might write that here, flashcards, multiple choice. So go ahead and add anything that you are interested in trying. And the hope is that everyone found at least one new thing that you might want to try, or maybe an old thing that you're coming back to that might be useful for your classroom going forward. Wow, well, the time always goes by so quickly. It's so nice to see all of you. Thanks for joining us again this month. We have these sessions the first Wednesday of every month, and so we'll be back again in December with some brand new things. In the meantime, I would love to get your feedback. So I put the feedback form there if you want to, and I think I can pop it out as well. Let's see if this works. So if you wouldn't mind completing that feedback form, it really gives us new information for how we might make these sessions most useful in the future. And then once again, I'll put today's resources in the chat, and I'll share a few other wrap-up items. So on the bottom of this link, there are a bunch more things to learn more. There are more examples. Some people were asking about this in our last session. Some higher ed specific examples are right here, or secondary or elementary examples. So you can see whichever examples are most useful to you. I'll put that in the chat if you wanted to see that more closely. And then we have some other learning resources as well. So if you wanted to see more of our videos, we'll post the video to this session in our YouTube and our sessions page. And we also have some PD courses that are short, kind of self-paced courses to learn all about Padlet. If you have more questions we didn't get to, please email us at hello@padlet.com. We'd love to hear from you, even if you just want to check if something's possible, or if you think there's a bug with something, or if you have any feedback for us. Once again, thanks for coming, and we hope to see you at the next session. All right, bye-bye, everyone.